Hi, and welcome to the Year in Review edition of Exponent Sports Speak. I'm executive reporter Joe Parello.
And I'm sports editor Derek Bulthuis.
Alright, biggest disappointment. Well, I know everybody's going to say Robbie Hummels' knee injury, but I'm going to go with the football team coming up short in a few different instances. The big one being the Northern Illinois game. You get a MAC team coming into your building, and they just ran all over Purdue. Purdue couldn't stop their physical style. You got the Northwestern game. They're up 21-3 just before halftime, and then the turnover start. Joey Elliott interception, fumbleitis all over the place. Notre Dame game, just got to make one more stop, and they couldn't make it. Just all those little woulda, coulda, shouldas. Oregon missing an extra point or getting the extra point block. They all added up to Purdue missing a bowl game by one game. So that was my biggest disappointment.
Well, Joe, contrary to what you were saying earlier, I'm going to have to go with Robbie Hummel, the basketball team, as my biggest disappointment of the year. Him blowing out his knee really hurt us, but somehow we were able to make it to the Sweet 16 for the second year in a row. Much farther than I expected, but hopefully with him back fully healed next year, and hopefully JJ and Etuan back, they can go even farther next year.
All right, Derek, my most improved athlete is Keith Smith, the wide receiver from the football team. He had a huge junior season, led the Big Ten in receptions, receiving yards, kind of skewed by the fact that Eric Decker from Minnesota went down with an injury, but still a pretty big accomplishment considering that a first-year quarterback. He went from a nice complimentary receiver to basically the most complete receiver in the Big Ten, and big things expected of him next year.
Most improved athlete of the year, I'm going to have to go with Juwan Johnson of the basketball team. He was named to first team All-Big Ten this year and really stepped up his game.
All right, Derek, my most improved team is the women's tennis team. They started the season 13-0, kind of fell off a little bit in the middle of the year, lost to Indiana and Illinois. They bounced back, they beat a couple ranked teams, beat Harvard, beat Ohio State, beat a couple other teams, finished 6th in the Big Ten after finishing the last couple years in the basement, won their first round game of the Big Ten tournament against Penn State, and took a nationally ranked Illinois team down to the wire. Laura Glitz really building a solid program there.
So for my most improved team of the year, I'm going to have to go with the baseball team. They started 1-6 with a slew of fielding errors that was just pretty ugly to watch. Currently, they're 26-17, 8-7 in the Big Ten. Last weekend, they won 2 out of 3 against IU, and they're only sitting one game out of first place in the Big Ten.
All right, my team of the year, Derek, is the men's swimming and diving team. They finished 13th in the NCAAs this year. Very impressive finish. Of course, David Bedaya, always awesome, stupendous. You can't really beat him. And it just makes you wonder, I mean, it's so cold out here. How do we get all these swimmers to West Lafayette? It doesn't make much sense. But the men's swimming and diving team, the most dominant team on campus.
Well, for my team of the year, I'm going to have to go with the women's golf team. For the 3rd time in a row, they've won the Big Ten Championship, and this year, Laura Gonzalez-Esquion was named the Big Ten Championship medalist and Freshman of the Year. So it seems like they're building a dynasty. So, Joe, it's time for the big award, Athlete of the Year, and this year I'm going to have to go with David Bedaya. He was named for a 2nd time in a row the NCAA Diver of the Year, and he captured the championship in the 1 meter and the 3 meter in diving.
My athlete of the year, I'm going to go a little counterculture pick here, Derek, and I'm going to pick Ryan Kerrigan of the football team, the defensive end, well, the latest addition to Purdue's famed den of defensive ends, led the Big Ten in sacks, was one of the top guys in the nation for tackles for a loss, and really was at his best in the biggest games. Against Ohio State, the guy came up with 3 sacks, Michigan had 2 sacks, and on that big 2-point conversion where Michigan had a chance to tie it in the Big House, he put the hammer down on Tate Forcier, ended the game, Purdue wins, 2 of the biggest wins in recent program memory, and Ryan Kerrigan was the biggest part of it. Ryan Kerrigan, my athlete of the year. All right, that's all we have for you in the Year in Review this week on Exponent Sports Speak. I'm Joe Parello.
And I'm Derek Bulthuis. Have a good summer.